I'm Kimberly Washburn, Curator of Education at the Florence County Museum. Welcome to May's Family Day at Home. This month, we are making artworks completely from recycled materials. In this activity, we'll be working together to create a butterfly sculpture that actually flies through the air. So let's get started. You're going to need to gather a few things from your Family Day at Home kit. You're going to need your sheet of construction paper. If you want to make more than one of these, junk mail would work really well, or any scrap paper you have around the house, but we've included a sheet of scrap construction paper. You have 2 straws, one thinner straw and one thicker straw. This is a great way to use straws that you get from restaurants. You have a black marker, and you have a few pieces of tape in your kit. You'll also find a template sheet with templates for several of the Family Day activities for this month. So you're going to need to grab that template sheet. And then you're going to need to gather a few things from around the house. You're going to need scissors and a pencil. Once you've gathered all your materials, we're ready to get started. The first thing that you're going to want to do is cut out your butterfly template from your template sheet. And I have one I have already cut out here. And we're going to start by creating the paper part of our butterfly sculpture. We're going to do that by taking our sheet of construction paper or any paper that you're working with at home, and you're going to fold that paper in half and go ahead and crease that with your finger. You need to take your butterfly template and set it on top of your paper. And you'll notice that the template is marked, this edge on the fold, with arrows pointing to the edge. So go ahead and place that edge along the fold of your paper. You might want to hold your template with one hand and your pencil in the other. And you're just going to trace along the outside of your butterfly template. Now, if you want to make a butterfly that has different shaped wings than the ones from your butterfly template, feel free to get creative and make your own butterfly wings. But the part that you need to stay the same is this little rectangle right here. You have to have a little bit of space that's on the fold. So this area should stay the same, but you can change the outline of the wings if you would like. So I've traced this on my paper, and with my paper folded, I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm just going to cut out along that outline. I don't want to cut the folded part away, so leave the fold, don't cut the fold. And I'm going to go ahead and cut out my butterfly template. Because the paper's folded, I'll be cutting both of the butterfly's wings, both the left wings and right wings, all at the same time. If you get a lot of paper that's hanging off and it's in your way, just cut it away. You don't have to fight with that. This is a great opportunity to practice accurate cutting skills. Go nice and slow. Getting around those corners can be a little bit tricky. So just go nice and slow. And we're going to go ahead and get our butterfly all cut out. Again, we're going to cut to the fold, but we're not going to cut the fold apart, because when we open that up, now we have 2 wings of our butterfly. This section in the middle is what we're going to be using to attach our little butterfly to the mechanism that's going to allow it to fly. So the next step is going to be to create some designs on your butterfly's wings. This is your opportunity to get creative. The one that I made as an example kind of has a pattern like a monarch butterfly, but you could just draw shapes or designs on yours. It doesn't have to look like a realistic butterfly. This could be a butterfly from your imagination. So get creative in making the patterns for your wings. I'm going to show you a little trick for transferring your pattern from one side of the wings to the other side of the wings so that they match exactly. So let's say that I want to create several shapes here that I want to transfer so that my two butterfly wings match exactly. I'm gonna make some triangle shapes inside of this one. This is an imaginary butterfly, and maybe some rectangles and squares in this bottom area. So it doesn't have to be like a butterfly, like a real butterfly wing. It could be whatever you want it to be. And let's say I wanted these two butterfly wings to match exactly. If I fold it in half so that the pencil markings, and this only works with the pencil, if you fold it in half so that your pencil markings are sandwiched, and if we use our marker and just kind of give it a rub with the side of our marker, anywhere you had those pencil markings, if you rub, 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 then it should transfer your pencil markings to the other side so that you can trace the lines and have a pretty close to exact match. Let's see if my marking's transferred. Might be a little bit tricky to see because it is a light line. If you have areas that didn't transfer well, just fold it back and rub it again. And all those markings can get transferred so that now I feel pretty confident that I can trace along those lines and have markings that are symmetrical. That's a word that we use when we're talking about art to mean that one side is the same as the other. We have two symmetrical butterfly wings. So I'm going to trace out those shapes that I transferred. Should be pretty close to exact. So I'm just going to finish that up. And that looks pretty good. That looks pretty symmetrical to me. Now, the next step is to use the marker to fill in any areas that you want to be dark. So you can see how on my orange butterfly, I have lots of areas colored in black, and anything that's not colored in, the color of the construction paper shows through. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill that in. Now I don't need to color in all the way into the center of the butterfly because that's going to be hidden. So I like to just kind of trace the outline to start. Just trace that outline. And I'm going to color in my shapes. And I'm going to keep coloring in my butterfly until it is all the way colored in, or until all the parts that I want colored in are complete. All right, so now that we have finished coloring in the black spaces in our butterfly, as you can see, we're ready to move on. You'll notice that I did not color in the center area of my butterfly's wings because that part is not going to be visible once we create our finished sculpture. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on my marker, set this aside for just a few moments, and prepare my straws to create the functional part of our sculpture. So the first thing you want to do is take your straw and kind of smash it in half to create a flat area. This sort of creases your straw in half and helps you know where to cut. And we're going to cut down about 1 inch. And I'm not measuring it, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. About 1 inch down the straw on both of those folds. And what that does is it gives me 2 little tabs that open up right here. You can see those little tabs on my straw. So now I'm going to go ahead and attach this. I'm going to fold my butterfly so that my patterns are on the inside. The outside is, what we're seeing on the outside is the back side of the butterfly. I'm going to open up these two tabs and I'm going to place them on either side of this folded piece of paper. So one half is on this side, and when I flip it over, the other half is on that side. So it's that little slit that I just made is divided between the two sides. And I'm going to take one of my pieces of tape and go ahead and tape that down. Tape that flap down. I'm going to flip it over, take a second of my pieces of tape, and tape that flap down. And so that should be kind of flat and attached to your butterfly, just like that. Now before we move on, I'm going to go ahead and fold my butterfly's wings down, and I want to fold it right along the area where this straight line meets the wings. So it's going to kind of be a line right along here. And you don't need to draw a line. I just did that to show you sort of where you're folding it. So I'm going to take the first wing, I'm going to find that spot, and I'm going to crease it just like that. I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing. And you can kind of just try to match the wings up on either side and get a nice crease. So now that my butterfly's wings are more floppy than they were before. Okay? And now we're ready to add our second straw. This second straw is what's going to actually make the butterfly wings flap up and down. So we're going to do the same thing with this straw, but we're going to go about 2.5 or 3 inches down the straw with our cut. So instead of just cutting this first little inch, we're going to cut about 2.5 to 3 inches, not quite halfway down the straw. So we're going to go ahead and flatten it to make some creases so we know where to make those cuts. I'm going to cut it about 1 inch, 2 inches, and a little more. So about 2.5 to 3 inches. And you can just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You do want to make sure it's kind of about the same on both sides. So again, we have these flaps on either side, just like that, except for we have a lot longer flaps now. So we're going to take this straw and we're going to insert this entire thing with these flaps side up, just like that, into our butterfly. And you want to slide this straw up so that the wings are, so that the straw is on the wings, kind of like you see here. They're both yellow, so it's a little tricky, but you can see how that's going all the way up on the wing on both sides. Now we're going to go ahead and put a piece of tape, maybe 2 pieces of tape, on each of these, securing that straw onto the wings. And now you'll notice if you pull the straw up and down, let me get a little bit closer to that fold. If it's a little floppy, then go closer to the fold with your piece of tape. So just a little bit closer to where that fold is. All right, and now you can see if I push the smaller straw up and down, it makes my butterfly wings flap. Now you'll also notice that my butterfly is sort of in the closed position right now. If you want it to open up a little bit more, just kind of fold that where that straw is. You have to sort of crease it to relax it just a little bit so that it's a little bit easier to make your butterfly fly. You can make these little butterfly sculptures from recycled materials around your house. So straws that you may have left over from a restaurant, and scrap paper that you have lying around the house, and a little bit of tape. And you can have some beautiful butterfly sculptures to decorate your home and to play with. We hope you've enjoyed this fun recycled art activity.